Hello everyone, Kenty Tiger here with Bengali Engineering and Play. We are back in Space Engineers. We're continuing on with the, well, I thought it was going to be a short series, but a progressive series on the modular utility vehicle. So what you see here is in the center here. Actually, let me go ahead and go down a little bit. We started off building cargo modules. And then we modified a cargo module. Actually, it was a little less specific than that. We kind of built those both at the same time, but a jump drive module. So we can actually do some traversing of space. So the idea was a very flexible utility vehicle that we can not only shuttle cargo back and forth from space to planets, but also jump around a little bit if we need to. So the pretty flexible as far as the modules go. So this is the general size, which is 11 modules or 11 blocks from end to end, and then a 3x3 block. We might actually end up with something that could be a 4x3 block, although I don't know really how we can use that at all. So one of the things you notice from where I left off on the last episode here, you can see that all the hydrogen thrusters did light off. So I actually added ice in and got that working. And I also put uranium in. So we've got uranium. The other thing I did was put, this is an elsewhere container here, but this is my fuel ice forward. And then there's another one that's fuel ice aft. So the idea is that you would have uranium and ice in both of those. We are apparently a long ways from getting hydrogen generated there. That or my indicators are not working anymore. That is entirely possible. Because I have not updated the mod for a little while. There may be some things that changed. But let's have a look and see if so tanks. Let's turn the tanks on for just a moment. Hydrogen tank. Oh no, they are filling. It's going to take a long time. Wow, that's okay. That's a whole lot of space. All right, so they are filling very slowly. So maybe eventually they will have some stuff. So let's leave those for right now. So what I'm trying to do is mirror forward and aft. That is going to be a little bit of a challenge. So what I'm doing is I'm going to build the grid, if you will, first. So in this case, it's a 7, and I come out 2, 1, 2, and then I have my corner piece, and then in this case I go forward, and it's 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yes, indeed. So 7. 1, 2, 3, and 4. Oh, and mirroring, darn it, got turned off. So let's, oops, that is a 7. Alright, so 1, 2, I can see back there. 8 is a piece there. 7, turn sideways. 1, 2, 3, and 4. Goes 4, and then it went across the back as a 1 and a 2, goes here, which is that piece, and then we actually have a piece that goes in there, which is that. Alright, if we keep this entirely symmetrical, then we have along this axis 5, we have a 1 there and a 1 there. Technically we have those there, but these are going to be, in fact, there, there, and I think there. So these are my forward reversers. It would be nice to have 4, but I don't think I can do that because of the way this actually sits in here. That is actually forward. So let's the challenge here is figuring out how to plumb all this in. So that becomes my center. That is my center. So this one here is up, down, and sideways, right? So 4. So that one will technically be, it doesn't have to be a 6 because the gyro is there, but it can be a 5, right? This one is a 9. I need to turn off mirroring because these don't work with mirrors. So I really don't need those ones in the back. So do I need these going all the way forward, or can I actually shift that backwards 1? Or do we keep it just for sake of having it entirely symmetrical? I think we'll do that. Symmetry is good. Symmetry is a good thing. All right. This is a 9. Turn on mirroring again. All right, that one, that one. This one here came 3 across the back. Is there any reason to not do that here? Yeah, I think having 5 in here is a good idea, which means that becomes a 5. This becomes a T, although I can't see the darn thing anymore. Becomes a T. Huh. Oh, well, that was completely backwards, wasn't it? Yeah, those are reversed as well. Alright, so we do a 5, we turn off mirroring. And there it is. Then we add more thrust here. We could actually add another thruster there. Nope, we can't. We are unfortunately limited, so 2, 5 thruster. Alright, and we figure out, so we have a gyro under there, if I am not mistaken, so removing that one is a challenge. Well, not really. So technically I should plumb that in there, but whether I plumb it in right there or plumb it in somewhere else doesn't really matter. So do I destroy the gyros and redo, or do I not bother and come in on the front? So one of the things I need to decide, and this is going to be the challenge, is do I put a cockpit on somewhere, or do I do a living area in here, which is really to say a different kind of cockpit, a built-in cockpit. If I do a built-in cockpit, then obviously I need to put airlocks in and get people in and out, that sort of thing. In the interim, okay, I'm just totally hosing things up here. So this needs to be across. Hopefully I won't break anything there. That's across. That's across. And of course I've turned off mirroring again, which means I need to do that here. All right. So we did 4 back here. Cross and technically across. The question is, do we need more forward thrust or not? This is a... Oh, and I did it again. Damn it. Alright. So this one is there and there. We put a cross in here and here, which was there and there. In this case we had 2 and 1, which in this case are now forward thrusters. 2, 5. We are 1, 2, 3, 4 thrusters. We are a big thruster, which is right there. And we are small thrusters there. Oh, this may be even more simple than I thought. Alright, so I'm going to leave those there for now. So what I'm looking at is these blocks here. I have a cross in there. I believe it's a cross. No, it's a T, because there's a gyro behind that, which is fine. So I'm going to leave those. There needs to be another thruster here, which then makes this perfectly symmetrical. Here's what I'm not sure how I did it and whether I want to change it. So that one sets back 1. So what I'm wondering, so this connection point here is actually into the tank here. Okay, so my indicators are working. So my hydrogen now is above 25% in those tanks. Whereas, so this is 1 forward. So how did I screw this up? No, it is parallel. So this should be parallel, which it is and isn't. One, two. 1, 2. Huh, okay. It's just the way it worked out. So, how are we going to connect this in? We're going to change these here to corners. So these are elbows now, angles. And that's an 8. So I'm going to do and those all should have lit off on the sides. Yes. Wang, bang. All done. Alright. So all of those lit off as expected. So the only thing that we have left to do is put the thrust aft. So this would be the equivalent of these here. So 2, 5. We'll spin those. There's 1, 2 there, and 1 there. And technically, because we have a little bit of differential here, 4 and 4, and connect. It should light that one off shortly. There it is. Alright, now the underside of this thing is incomplete. So we bring up those, there's that, and let's do a 9, which is kind of the oh darn it, and I turned mirroring off again. That and 9 that. Alright, so we will do approximately the same here. So we want 9 here, which we're going to turn like this. We're going to have a 7 here, which of course we're going to reverse. We have a 7 which is sideways. Oh darn. There. And then a corner. Like that. We have angle there, there, there. This turns sideways there. Sideways again there, and a corner there. Alright. Now, the problem here is I don't know exactly what I'm going to do here. Obviously, I'm totally turned around upside down. Let's add one more piece here and in the middle, which is that kind of a piece and that kind of a piece. Either that or I put batteries in there. My inclination would be to put batteries in there, but I'm going to go ahead and not go quite as overkill as I normally do. Do that instead. Alright, and I oopsed. So we need a 4 and a 4. Then we go back to a 5 and add thruster, thruster, thruster. Alright. So we are almost symmetrical depending on how we work. So we have 10 side to side. We have 2, 3, we have 4, 8, 8 and 6 makes 14 reverse. And we actually have 6 small and the 1 large forward, which we could actually replace with 3 large. The question is this thing designed for speed, or was it designed for more practical, application here? All right, so we now have thrust in all 6 directions, which is exactly what we wanted. And now we have to figure out how to do the nose cone on here. All right, so if I do that, and I put a cockpit one, what's there? I wish I could use that, but that's a small ship only. Alright, I want to see what my visibility is like. So let me jump in there. Actually, very good. So I have that for a little bit of protection on the sides, which is not bad. So I have good visibility everywhere, which is good. I think that is I think if I turn that off, yeah, change that into a 6, then we're still connected in every direction. If I put a there, then that one is now plumbed in to the bottom of the cockpit, so I have now oxygen and hydrogen, so everything should fill up. There we go, 100%. Now, the question is, how do we do this bottom portion? Do we keep it entirely utilitarian, which is to say this is the cockpit and this is what you got, or do we build a small, not a whole lot of room here, but a small habitable type area here? And if we do build a habitable area, how do we do that? Here's the interesting thing about these pieces. These pieces are actually as strange as it is, these pieces are solid. They're not solid, but they're solid. So these are, of course, a build model that was changed into a finished block, and because it's a finished block, it is solid because it's an armor block. It happens to be light armor, but you know, it's an armor block. We could actually do some really interesting things here. 6. That's a face. I want to do a one face, 2 face, side, 1 by 1 face. Let's do that. So I actually want the inverted face. There we go. All right. I could get really creative here. So Digi, the same guy who did the aerodynamics mod with the wings and everything, does a lot of really unique blocks. One of the blocks was a conveyor air vent. What does that mean? Conveyor air vent. Conveyor air vent. So it's a little hard to see. So it's a conveyor. It looks just like a conveyor, right? Except you have an air vent on one of the sides. So the problem is, if I use this, then it becomes that this is typically part of my standard mod load list. So it wouldn't be a big deal. But what I was thinking was that I would put those guys right there, which would then mean I don't have to put anything outside of that. Alright, so here's the interesting part of this whole thing. How do I make this work? Okay, so I'm thinking connector there and a connector in the back. So in the meantime, let me do catwalk plate. How far out do I want to go? Let us pretend for a moment. The challenge is how to make this look kind of nice. See, ideally it would be, I need a medical bay in here somewhere. Alright, so here's the next thing I have to figure out. 3. So those have to be this way. I cannot put them any other way. Reflectivity, I can't tell whether those are Keen insists on making dirty glass. So unless you have a dog with you that's going to put nose prints all over everything, I've actually had a cat that put my first cat, well, my second cat was a cougar, and he used to love riding around in the vehicle with me, and so he would put nose prints on. But this is absolutely filthy dirty. This is unacceptable in any naval fleet. So I don't know why they insist on putting dirt on all of the glass. Why do they do that? And I guess the glass is now the same in every direction, which is okay. Alright, so what I was trying to figure out how I was going to do is so I don't like doing just square stuff. And the problem is, how do I go from, you know, a square corner to not square corner? And the second question is, how do I go from okay, do we need that one there? I think no. So for that becomes a 5. Let's reverse here. Where is that one in every direction, right? So like that. Alright, this one no longer needs to be an elbow, it needs to be a T. Like this. I don't want to sacrifice one of my air vents because I like having a port and starboard air vent. So we have a small medical bay here, which is a stolen medical bay model. And we actually install this upside down. Duncan Kong, DK, is who made this model. So the plug there. I would use it with permission, but I have no idea how to contact any of these people without being just open and public, and I don't really believe in doing business of this nature publicly. Alright, so I don't know how I'm going to do this. I really don't care for, I think that's backwards, but I'm not sure. Alright, so the question is, how do I do this thing? Ideally would be so I have the advantage up here because I have a block. This one I can't put anything there because the thruster is there. So anything I put onto this one I have to put on this side, and I don't really have an easy way to go from a square unless I sacrifice inverted corner. So unless I were to sacrifice this and this and do that, then I have my corner. I don't know if that's ideal, but okay, that, and that. Okay, that brings out the corner. I don't know if that's exactly what I want to do. Ideally would be now to put these as a two face. Here's what I mean by that. Okay, 3 ramp. So in my view of the world, I actually have, okay, go back to 9, 7. That is it. Alright, well, I guess the challenge here is, so we need a G in Windows. This is a two-face, so let's put that there. Left side, right side, okay. I'm gonna Alright. I think that's how that needs to be. Okay. Here, of course, is the challenge. How do you get in and out? Not so easy. Alright, either way, let's, we'll finish. So I think that is, go there, slide that there. So this is our cockpit here. I wish there was a way to put So here's the problem. Do I have... I do not. Damn it. Many times I very much like the Colt 16 command console pack. It's absolutely awesome, but I do not have it loaded in as a mod on this particular thing, on this particular world. So the downside to that, of course, is that I don't have those. Those are actually really, really cool, really neat consoles. You do have a couple pilot consoles. So I am now limited to the Keen Vanilla software, or Keen Vanilla consoles, which are very limited. Gee. Consoles, there we are, control station. So the problem is adding a control station. So this is actually the flight seat, which is what I would want. So we'll go ahead and put that there. Here's the problem. I want glass in front of this thing, and because of the consoles being what they are, here's what happens. So I want a flat window. There are no attaching points here, which I think is really stupid. I mean, why? So the only option here is that I move the console back one. I put a catwalk down, and then I can attach onto the catwalk. I've done that before. The downside to that is your visibility. So let's go ahead and sit in this thing. So we have good visibility. We are in front of the thrusters on both sides. Whereas if I move it back one block, still have some visibility forward. So let's go ahead and remove this one to show you what I mean here. So 8, 3, so we'll delete this console. We will put the console here, and then we'll climb into this console, and you see we now have limited visibility, slightly limited visibility. So I no longer have my port side view or starboard side view, although I do have down port and starboard, which is good. I have up port and starboard, but I do not have directly port starboard view anymore because I'm sitting in between the thrusters. So stupid design, but I'm working within the limitations of the game in this case. Not ideal, but it is what it is, as they say. Alright, so steel catwalk plate, which we're actually going to turn into a steel catwalk. If I can get it rotated around the right way. Okay. So this cuts down a little bit on my visibility forward, which I don't necessarily want. I don't know if I can... Let me see if I can do the plate and see what happens. I don't think it's going to let me do that. Hey, it does. Look at that. So one of the things, if you didn't see it, is both of the air vents just went positive. Okay, so they're all green. So even though you see these little gaps here, just ignore those. They're not really there. They're not really holes. They just look like holes. Alright, and then the question is, do we do a port side or a starboard side airlock? Now, there is, I can't remember who makes this, but it is an airlock. And I'm going to kill that block and then put that block in. Not ideal, completely screws up the symmetry, but I have I have limited options. So to actually get into this cockpit, this is it. This is the only way to get into this cockpit. So I have severe limitations. So I could put it up here or put it down below. In this case, it's down below. Alright, so this is, I'm just going to call this air vent port. This will be air vent starboard. This is the flight seat. Cockpit. Okay, which is true. That's up there, and airlock. Alright, so if we're thinking about things in terms of what we are missing still, I have gyros, always a good thing. I have thrust in every direction. I have gas generation, which means I also have oxygen in here, so it says oxygen none. Huh. So something, issues with the windows, I guess. Oxygen high, oxygen none. Huh. Okay, like I said, these are solid but not solid. So clearly those are not solid, but they're solid. Alright, so what I can't figure out here is why is this an issue? So all of these look to be facing the correct direction, and this is attached in here. Let me, well, that makes absolutely no sense. So, is that side the same? Yeah. So I'm guessing I have severe bounding box issues. I'm guessing. So here's the problem. You can see that the air vents there are green. So for whatever reason, we are not detecting where the windows come in and where they go out. So it's either kind of leave this alone and not worry about it, or come up with something else. So my other thought here is, rather than using a flat window on the outside, I would use an inverted window on the inside. So now that window is inside, but because we still have this issue of where the airtight aspects are, I don't know that we're going to solve this problem. Alright, so I'm in a high oxygen environment, and a none. Alright, so I think I'm just, I don't know what to do. Space engineers are space engineers. You know, why it is doing things like it's doing, I don't know. So clearly something changed with the boundary boxes of the windows to the point where the stock windows are no longer working with air in the same way. The only other thing that I could do potentially is to take out these if it is an issue with the air vents, which it very well could be. I can't deny that. So, well, let's try that. So the problem is I'm inside, which is possibly going to alter a few things, just because of, you know, for me to touch this, I'm actually going through the bounding box of this thing, so there may be some issues here. Alright. This was a T originally, so let's change this to a, hey, look at that. So we're removing that. So I have that on the right direction here. Okay, so reasonably no air. Can't do anything there, but I can, in this case, put alright, so what is this one? Turn that off. So that is a, oh shit. I just totally screwed that up. So thankfully that did not break everything. So this could have been disastrous if this gyro had flipped out and just destroyed everything here. So get rid of the gyro. So there are things in here. Okay, I'm going to cheat a little bit. I'm going to destroy that there, destroy that there, destroy that there. 0, 2, 6 is a gyro. I'm going to put the gyro on the front of the battery there, and there. So we have gyros back down here. 6. Why are they that way? Gyros on. One, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I don't know why they renumbered themselves. 7 and 8. Group gyros, save. Alright, so this could technically become a 5, right? Do I have... Okay, leave that off. Okay, so that one is that way, and that way, and then we have a 5. Which that now should light that one back off. Yes. That one's going. Alright. So, actually, that's a problem. Because I can't really put anything in front there. So, this one still has to be a number 9. Should be that, right? Bing, bing. That's that one there. Which means I am down to a single air vent. 4. Somewhere. This is another frustrating thing about Keen is knowing what blocks are airtight and which ones aren't. Now, there is the possibility that these blocks are no longer airtight. Now that because of what they are armor blocks. Armor blocks are inherently airtight. So maybe we can play the little game here and test. And these blocks, the armor blocks, or the armor conveyor blocks, are airtight. I know that. So let's just for fun change these guys out as part of the testing. So according to this, I have, I mean, the windows being the windows are completely sealed. So it either becomes an issue of the armored conveyors not being airtight, which is entirely possible, or it is an issue of these things not being airtight. So I'm going to do some experimenting off screen and see what I can discover as far as little issues. Namely, I'm going to test the airtightness of these armored conveyors. So with that, I will sign off for now. So this is Kenty Tiger, and we will see you next time.